Now, here for you, this is News Views, a newscast for Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, and the world. This is Bill Ratner speaking. And now, Michael Badger.
Hello and welcome to News View tonight. I just probably did a news story or two, but now we're switching into interview mode here. I have Ralph, one of the famous Flying Tomato Brothers, who is one of the runners of Garcia's Pizza in a Pan in the area. And I was going to ask you a few questions. I still am. And my first one is pizza your favorite food?
Well, let's put it this way. I just ate it a few minutes ago. When Joe and I started in 1971, we didn't pay ourselves a salary because we were broke and put all the money in the business. So we ate a lot of the product. In fact, occasionally we would eat the leftover pizza if we sent a pizza out and somebody wasn't there and it came back and it sat for an hour or two and then we'd heat it up again. We found out it even tasted better because it was even crisper on the bottom when we reheated it. But I might add that we enjoy pizza. Pizza is the only fast food that's baked and not fried. So it's a lot, and you can throw all kinds of healthy vegetables on it like green peppers and mushrooms and onions and olives and
Spinach.
And zucchini. And so the even Consumer Reports has said that if you're going to eat fast food, eat pizza.
Okay.
So, I'm healthy. We can live on it.
I like it too. Yes.
Okay, good.
It's very good.
Yes, I've seen you in the restaurant.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
And if you don't mind my asking, which came first, the balloon or Garcia's Pizza in a Pan, and what year did each start?
Oh, yeah. Well, we started Garcia's Pizza in a Pan in Lando Place, where the Tiss bookstore is now, in 1971, back in the courtyard, a very tiny restaurant. And we were nicknamed by Debbie Fishbein, since we both were in a rock band and before we started the restaurant, we were nicknamed the Flying Tomato Brothers, which was a take on the Flying Burrito Brothers.
Oh.
So, but here we were in 1971 and 72 and 73, the Flying Tomato Brothers with nothing to fly. So it's sort of in answer to your question, it was 1974, even though we had pilot's licenses for fixed-wing airplane, but it was 1974 that we finally got the hot air balloon and matched up our name to the tomato.
Oh,
so
I see.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, I had a high school gym PE teacher who said she knew you both, and she has a balloon too. Do you know who that would be?
Is it Mary Omit?
I don't believe so.
Okay,
no.
or do you remember her name?
I don't remember her name.
Okay,
because it was in high school. That was a few years ago.
There's been, maybe a dozen or so hot air balloons in the community. This has been relatively active for our size. In fact, we even had a club balloon where everybody was able to buy in and own part of the balloon. And we have a organization called BAGGY, which is Balloon Association of Greater Illinois, that encompasses about a dozen members or more of all the balloonists in the area. So it's quite active, actually, in this community.
I've seen a lot of balloons over the years flying pretty high over Champaign-Urbana, and you can see them like from the interstate.
Yes.
It's very pretty sometimes.
Well, we fly. You said you see them flying pretty high. We fly pretty low.
Yes, you do. And
yes,
you've flown over our house before.
Right.
Yes.
We like, of course, our name is up there in 30-foot letters, and
so people can see it.
We want people to see it. We're basically a billboard,
flying billboard
that flies over non-zoned areas legally. So we're pleased about that. Plus, it's also interesting. We're close to the ground, and we can actually, once we turn off the burner, Mike, we can actually talk to people and hear people talking on the ground.
Yeah.
So it's something that is, remember, we're not flying. An airplane flies.
Right.
It cuts through the
You're
air
sort of
mass.
floating. Right?
Yes, we're floating, so like a cloud, we're part of the air mass just floating through.
Right.
So we can hear. We can hear people talking on the ground. In fact, the first flight that Joe and I made in 1974 with a friend of our, Tom Gable's balloon, the sounds of the earth when you fly over town at 500 feet are dogs barking and children playing. And we've noticed that to this day. In fact, we flew about 5 times in the past 2 weeks because we took advantage of the nice weather. And what do you hear when you're up there? Dogs barking, children playing. That's pretty nice for the sound of the earth.
Yes, I'd say so.
Yes, it is.
And do you have any things that stick out, remembering you and Joe's business and/or balloon adventures?
Well, that's two separate categories, balloon adventures
Okay.
and business adventures, though they are sort of related. Ballooning is a learning experience. I think Joe and I are both commercial pilots. We have over 1,000 hours of flying time. But after the first 50 or 100 hours, we learned, we learned by experience quite a bit. Most of our flying is done by choice now in the evening. Now the winds are the calmest right at sunrise when the sun comes up, or
Right.
sunset. And A, because we're in the pizza business, we're up late at night, and B, because as what we like to do is launch, and then once we're up there, we know that the winds are dying down. And it makes it for a softer landing, because as you notice, there's no wheels on the
Right.
on the basket, and every landing is a controlled crash landing. So a lot of times we have a landing where it's a stand-up landing because the winds are calming down. We don't, in the morning, it's the reverse. You take off, it's very calm, you go up and you're up for an hour, and then the winds pick up and you're in a windier landing, which is a little more tricky to maneuver and a little less comfortable for the passengers. So, but it's still safe. I mean, Joe and I have done it literally thousands of times, and no broken arms, no broken legs. So I guess we're in very good control of our controlled crash landings.
And I have one more question before the break, and then we'll come back with a few more.
Okay, good.
Do you have any advice for aspiring entrepreneurs or business people?
Yes, I do. First bit of advice is start small. I mean, this is what Joe and I did, and it allowed us to weather the ups and downs more easily, especially the down times, because we had such a reasonably low overhead. We had a tiny restaurant that was about 13 by 25. We started out, no banks. We were hippies with hair down to our shoulder that flipped up. No banks would loan us money at the time. And so we saved up money and borrowed a little bit of money, but opened on such a small scale that we weren't way over our heads. And we opened April 17th, 1971, and immediately on campus, we went into the doldrums of summertime. And we really struggled with, we had 2 employees. One day, Ralph ran the restaurant and Joe delivered, and then the next day, we alternated and Joe ran the restaurant and Ralph delivered. But we were small enough. I mean, here we could run the restaurant. We didn't need 10 employees or 15 employees. We had 2 employees, Ralph and Joe, and we were able to weather the tough times of that first summer until football season kicked in. So the key is, in answer to your question, start small so you can afford to lose, you can afford to make mistakes and still recover.
Okay. Well, yes, because in the summer, as most people know here, that's when the students are away.
Well, yeah, and even more so now. The preponderance of students being encouraged to bring cars on campus means that the students are more mobile, and whereas on weekends and certain short holidays they would stay down on campus, now they're more mobile. Joe and I calculated that the students are here basically 6 months and 2 weeks out of the year and gone 5 months and 2 weeks out of the year. And it's almost, if you run a restaurant, you almost have to run it, if you run a restaurant on campus, you almost have to run it like a Dairy Queen, where it's open half the year and sort of closed half the year.
Oh.
I mean, it's not by accident that if you go on campus, been and gone, Wendy's, McDonald's,
Right.
Arby's, Hardee's, Burger King, and there's big companies, even, smarter than we are, who've all said, well, we've been in, put in our 5 years, and then said we just can't run a business half the year.
I remember going to those.
Yeah,
too.
well, yeah, but so campus is tough in that respect.
They were here. Yeah.
Especially now, when I was in school here, and Joe and I were both in school here in the earlier years, they discouraged bringing cars to campus. Now they encourage it and ask everybody to park, pay and park next to the assembly hall or south of FAR, PAR, and it's a very different campus. If we open a store now, it's got to have a drive-through and parking. When our original stores at Lincoln and Nevada, at Wright and Green Street, in Bromley Hall, you didn't need parking, you didn't need a drive-through.
Right.
So, I think in order to survive, you adapt. Times have changed.
Yes, they have, and things are going to change right now because we're taking one break, and we'll be right back with Ralph of Garcia's Pizza and Pan when we return. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome back. It's Michael Badger with my special guest tonight, Ralph Sinn, one of the Flying Tomato Brothers of Garcia's Pizza. His other half is Joe, and he is not here today, but maybe sometime, we'll see. And here's a question. What do you think the future of the pizza business is?
Well, we've been in it for 40 years, and it's been as healthy now as before. It's just, if anything, getting better. And let me repeat something I said earlier.
Okay.
One of the reasons the pizza industry is stable, because as Consumer reported, if you're going to eat fast food, it's the only food that's baked and not fried.
Right.
And it allows you to, a hamburger's a hamburger, and a hot dog is a hot dog, and we eat both of those. But the nice thing about a pizza, in addition to being baked and not fried, is that you can constantly develop the ingredients that you put on top. When we started, of course, it was sausage and pepperoni, and then meats got added, hamburger and ham and bacon. As people were more careful about what they ate, we started adding, and it was very popular, things that you mentioned, like spinach and zucchini. Mm-hmm. And of course, we have black olives and green olives and broccoli and chicken. So there's all kinds of good, healthy products that, as people become more health conscious, we can add to the product and bake it. And it becomes an adaptive product for people. It's also reasonably convenient in that you can cook it in your microwave. You can take it with you to work, frozen, and so it's a very adaptable product.
That's true.
Yes.
It is, and I like it a lot myself.
Yes, I noticed you've been in the store, so thank you.
You're welcome. And when did the drawings with the tomatoes with wings and stuff and the signs debut?
Okay, that's a good question, because when our first logo in Lando Place in 1971 was the Garcia's in a tomato, and it didn't have wings. And I remember when we started putting in ads in the Daily Illini, and we we're, like I mentioned earlier, we were nicknamed the Flying Tomato Brothers, so we put the wings on the tomato as well. And they sort of complemented each other because it was a few years later that we actually created the winged flying tomato, and the hot air balloon. Now, of course, that doesn't have wings on it, but in you know, the image does, at least. I mean, you think of the tomato as a flying tomato, and then, of course, our corporate logo is a tomato with wings on it. And we were very fortunate, too, as we had just graduated the University of Illinois, and so we had people in the art department and the graphics department that we hired, students who we paid to, and gave them free rein, mostly by, I remember, Tim Stiles and others. We'd say, look, advertise, make it fun, and so they would do a lot of cartoon advertising. And so we developed the winged tomato as with Mickey Mouse arms and Mickey Mouse legs, and they became part of a menagerie of marketing characters, you know, similar to Ronald McDonald for Garcia's Pizza in a Pan. So here were the two guys, Ralph and Joe Tomato, the Flying Tomato Brothers, dressed in their Rocky Squirrel flying outfits, and we had this menagerie of characters, one which was the flying tomato character with legs and arms, and then we had the mozzarella maidens, and we had the burning hot delivery boys, and developed a whole group of characters to support Garcia's Pizza in a Pan. So it was a lot of fun. It really was.
Sounds like it.
It still is.
That's
we're
good.
still here, and we're still having fun. And when we fly over, talk to us because we can hear you.
Okay.
So it's fun.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
And well, I want to thank you for coming on the program today and
My pleasure.
sharing your insight and stories.
okay. I got plenty more. I'll
And,
be glad to come back.
Sure, come back sometime, and thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Mike. Thank you very much.
Hello, and this is Michael Badger with your NewsView weather forecast for the weekend of Friday, November 11th. Friday night, a low temperature of 30 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly clear skies. Saturday, a probability of precipitation at 30% with cloudy skies and a high of 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Saturday night, a low temperature of 37 degrees Fahrenheit is expected with cloudy skies. Sunday, a 90% probability of precipitation with a high of 60 degrees Fahrenheit and rain. Sunday night, chance of rain with 46 degrees Fahrenheit for the low. This has been your NewsView weather forecast for the weekend. I'm Michael Badger. Thank you for watching NewsView. And don't forget to tune in again next week and stay tuned for the